story to tell.
The bombing campaigns of B-24 bombers destroyed many factories and military bases, crippling Nazi weapons production capacity. In the late 1930s, Washington asked Consolidated Aircraft to participate in the production of B-17 bombers. However, after a tour of Boeing's factory in Seattle, Consolidated proposed a completely different design. The prototype known as the XB-24 showed superior specifications to the B-17. The bomber was approved for mass production as the B-24 Liberator in early 1940. At that time, the B-24 was the largest aircraft ever produced in the United States. The B-24 had a shoulder-mounted high-aspect ratio Davis wing. This wing was highly efficient, allowing a relatively high airspeed and long range. Compared to the B-17, it had a 6-foot larger wingspan but a lower wing area. This gave the B-24 a 35% higher wing loading. The wing carried 4 supercharged radial engines mounted in cowlings borrowed from the PBY Catalina, that turned 3-bladed variable pitch propellers. The tailplane featured 2 large oval vertical stabilizers, mounted at the ends of a rectangular horizontal stabilizer. The B-24's spacious, slab-sided fuselage was built around 2 central bomb bays that could accommodate up to 8,000 pounds of ordnance in each compartment. The forward and aft bomb bay compartments were further split longitudinally, with a centerline ventral catwalk just 9 inches wide, which also functioned as the fuselage's structural keel beam. The Liberator carried a crew of up to 10. The pilot and co-pilot were situated in the high-mounted stepped flight deck with views forward, to the sides and above. The nose gunner, bomber and navigator were housed under a glazed nose well forward in the design. The radio operator sat behind the pilots, facing sideways and sometimes doubled as a waist gunner. The flight engineer sat adjacent to the radio operator behind the pilots. He operated the upper gun turret, located just behind the cockpit, and in front of the wing. The defensive armament of the B-24 varied from transport variants, which were usually unarmed, to bombers armed with up to 10 12.7mm M2 Browning machine guns, located in turrets and waist gun positions. Early model Liberators were fitted with a top-mounted turret, a tail turret and single machine guns located in the waist and in the glazed nose. The B-24 was used extensively in World War II. It served in every branch of the American Armed Forces as well as several Allied air forces and navies. It saw use in every theater of operations. Along with the B-17, the B-24 was the mainstay of the U.S. strategic bombing campaign in the Western European theater. Due to its range, it proved useful in bombing operations in the Pacific, including the bombing of Japan. Long-range anti-submarine Liberators played an instrumental role in closing the mid-Atlantic gap in the Battle of the Atlantic. The C-87 transport derivative served as a longer-range, higher-capacity counterpart to the Douglas C-47 Skytrain. The B-24 Liberator was a powerful symbol of U.S. industrial might, with more than 18,000 produced by the war's end. By the end of World War II, the technological breakthroughs of the Boeing B-29 Superfortress, and other modern types had surpassed the bombers that served from the start of the war. The B-24 was rapidly phased out of U.S. service.